Hey, what's up guys, John here. I believe they are scheduling to do a rug pull in the American middle class to the extent of which many people don't realize. You might see these inflation numbers, 3%, 4% inflation.
A new report shows U.S. inflation picked up in August. The Consumer Price Index shows prices climbed 3.7% compared to a year ago, more than expected.
You go to a grocery store and everything's up 20, 30, 40%.
Rising cost of groceries is getting to the point now where more Americans are choosing to dine out rather than spend money on home-cooked meals.
You might see unemployment at 3% or 4% in the numbers in which they share, but then, you look around and most of your friends have two jobs. They have side hustles. They have all these different things, and you wonder, are all these numbers doctored? Are they real? Well, I'm going to show you what's really going on because something really, really big is in the works. It's not an opinion. It's not something they're thinking about doing. It's already a fact. It's already law. It's happening in 2025. But we're going to see a gradual erosion of the middle class and America over the next 15 months that people need to really prepare for to position themselves for what I think is going to be the greatest wealth transfer of all time, by far, without doubt. It started in 2020. It's ramping up now, and over the next 2 years, it's going to get crazy. Please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube's going to share this content to educate the people about what's really going on. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. We'd love to help you and fix your credit to put yourself in a position to get funding and financing for your business, or maybe to invest in real estate, or maybe you have your own plan. But we'd love to help you get there with GreatCreditFast.com. You can click the link in the description below this video. Schedule a free call. Take a look at this. So they are saying that the unemployment rate is 3.8%. So if you look at where we are, 2018, they're essentially saying the economy is in the same place that it was in 2018 when it comes to the job market and labor market. I don't think many people would agree with that. But when you look at just where inflation, they're saying inflation's 3.8%, 4%. This is just the last 12 months, right? Food at secondary, elementary and secondary schools, 254% increase last 12 months. Fuel, 65%. Eggs, almost 50%. Airfare, 36%. Butter and margarine, 34%. Bread, 15%. You look at all of these numbers, you show me one that is under 10%. So I don't see how these numbers are, even when they look at, just traditional spending, I don't know of anything that has increased at 3% or 2% or anything that could get them a weighted average of around 4% or 3.8%. There's no way. So what we're starting to see here is a consumer in America, a struggling consumer in America like we've never seen before, where people are literally selling their blood to make ends meet. This is what they're saying now. They're saying the economy grew 4.9% over the summer. And so when you look at what Jerome Powell is saying, Jerome Powell said very clearly that his goal is to increase unemployment and to really taper consumer spending to get the economy to a normal place with a soft landing. Well, when they show you headlines like this saying that the economy grew at 4.9%, what they're saying is that they need to keep interest rates even higher, and they're going to keep them there for longer. And so when you're looking at what's actually happening here, you're seeing a really, really interesting dynamic that's about to take place here that nobody else is talking about. They're saying right here, U.S. may need slower economic growth to beat inflation. They're saying Fed funds rate at 7%. Right now, Fed funds rate's at 5.3%, which would push interest rates, mortgages, perfect credit, about 10%. 10% for 30-year fix. Right now, if you have an 800 credit score, it's 8.15%. So you start to look at what this would mean. Mortgage rates, borrowing costs, everything would go through the roof. And so right now, they're saying that at 3% mortgage rates, 50 million Americans could afford to buy a home, the average home, a $400,000 property. Well, with 8% mortgage rates, it's only 22 million Americans. So the big question is, if rates went from 8% to 9.5% or 10 or 10.5%, of these 22 million, how many would still be buyers? I would bet maybe 14 million, right? 14, 12 million, something like that. So you have this situation where over the last couple of years, from 2020 to 2021, 40% of all mortgages are taken out at the height of the market. You're going to start to see a situation where you're going to see a lot of people lose their jobs. There's no doubt about it, as they continue to put more pressure on this economy. And so more people are going to lose their jobs, and then by natural default, there's going to be a smaller pool of buyers. So we're going to see more inventory, less available buyers to acquire this inventory, which is then going to put more pressure on the real estate market. So I'm betting prices are going to be coming down. But when you look at what's happening here, it's fascinating. They say car owners fall behind on payments the highest rate on record. So greater than the Great Financial Crisis. Then you see foreclosures skyrocketing. So they say that none of it makes any sense unless you really look at what they're doing. Then it will make a lot of sense. They're saying that the economy grew at 4.9%, but then foreclosures have increased 34%. 34% in the third quarter, right? 34% in the last quarter, and then record high defaults on vehicles. So what's really happening? Well, they're intentionally issuing an erosion on this economy. And they're doing it through something called Basel III Endgame. Not many people know what this is, but it's a complete restructuring of bank lending. And when does this go into effect? Well, it goes into effect in 2025. So when you look at what's happening, all of this will make such perfect sense while they're showing you data and information that says one thing on one side, which is the car defaults and foreclosures and affordability crisis. But then on the other side, they're saying that the economy is booming. It's because then they have this excuse to put a lot more weight and pressure on the economy. So then when everything comes crashing down, they can say, you know what, we have to do things more responsibly. We have to change how we do lending. And they already signed this into law right here. October 23rd, just came out a couple days ago, right? And so what does this say? It says Goldman Sachs leads small biz campaign against new bank rules. Now, I think that this is a PR stunt. I think Goldman Sachs loves, in my opinion, Goldman Sachs and the big banks will love this because it's going to push a lot of regional banks, a lot of other banks, credit unions out of business, allowing a bunch of big banks, 5, 6 big banks, to acquire thousands of small banks and allow them to be able to essentially control lending, control the economy, and control our lives. And so when does this come into effect? Well, it comes into effect in 2025, right here. Takes effect 2025. So let me explain kind of how this works and why people need to pay very, very close attention to this so that they can position themselves and their business and their lives in the strongest way possible so that when 2025 comes, you're not as dependent on bank lending and you have liquidity, you have options. Because at the end of the day, money equals options and options equals wealth. So, and that's what you want right now. So Goldman, they say 10,000 small business voices is launching digital ads that demand the Fed stop the squeeze on small business. According to Goldman, access to capital is a recurring problem for many small businesses they work with, particularly those with Black and Hispanic owners. So they make everything about race. Everything that they make it about. This is about every small business in America is dependent on access to liquidity. Every real estate developer, every real estate investor, everyone is dependent on access to credit. I mean, our entire economy is based on this. Banks lend money into existence. So even every multi-billionaire has made their fortune initially using leverage. Every real estate millionaire has made their fortune using leverage. The same is true here. So they're pretending as though they're standing for the small guy, but in reality, you and I both know that Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, these banks, they're going to make an absolute, killing over the next couple of years as they start to acquire these other banks. But look at what they're saying is going to happen here. So they say bulge bracket banks have managed and even profited from rates at their highest in nearly 20 years. Yet smaller and regional banks, which handle much of Main Street's finances, have been less fortified balance sheets and are less likely to respond to new rules by tightening credit. And I've been talking about this too, saying tightening credit is going to be coming. So you think about this, even if you're a small bank, a big bank, if you're looking around and you're seeing record high car defaults on auto loans, you're seeing record high, foreclosures are starting to pick up, you're seeing credit card defaults. I mean, credit card defaults on subprime borrowers, almost 10%, almost 1 in 10 are not paying on their cards. You have, 43 million student loans that were due October 1st. How many are actually going to be able to pay with an average payment of $508 a month? Not many, I would imagine, considering the fact that 2 in 3 Americans, they don't have $400 in the bank for an emergency. So what is going to happen? You're going to start seeing a lot more defaults, and then that's going to be a reason for them to tighten credit further, which is going to perfectly usher in this Basel III endgame. So they're saying it's going to make lending more restrictive, which is for sure going to happen, and make small business cash problems more acute. That's why I've been warning. Now's the time. Make sure everything is in line with at least the business that you're working in, or the employment, the job that you have. Make sure you're positioned in the right way because the world is going to get harder. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't the case. Honestly, I wish we could all go back to 2018, 2019 because a lot of people are much happier. The cost of living was much more affordable. Rent was less. People are going on vacations. A lot more smiles in the streets. The world was better. But we're going to be walking into the new normal, as they say, and it's going to be a harder situation for, I think, most people. So about Basel III Endgame, which they call B3E, Ernst & Young says the proposal scheduled to take effect in 2025 represents a sea of change for the U.S. banking industry, significantly altering the regulatory capital regime for U.S. banks. The proposal would modify how the largest banks think about regulatory capital and extend more granular, rigorous requirements for U.S. regional and mid-sized banks. Advocacy groups have also come out strongly against the new rules, citing the impact on communities of color. Interest rates are higher now than any time in the past 22 years, right? The result, the evidence survey finding that showing small business owners are aligned by the difficulty in accessing capital. Do you think about this? The last couple of years, do you think, I know we've been told that, everything is about combating inequality and, the buzzwords we're hearing a lot about, but the big thing is, when 2020 happened, remember it was Walmart, Target, CVS, Amazon. These are the entities that are, that people should trust. These are the entities that are here to, help everyone through these difficult times. It wasn't the small business owner. Remember the small business owner, they were deemed to be closed. Many locations, Los Angeles, New York City, they're closing everything down. People were losing their jobs, right? It was the small business owner that was in very, very, very big trouble. And it was the big guy that was winning big time. So when you look at this, and you look at a situation that it's going to be tough for small businesses, it reminds us of what happened just a couple years ago. We're walking in to the rug pull of the American middle class. It's the unfortunate reality. So this is what's going to happen. They're going to continue to feed us information and data that I think a lot of people should be very, very careful about. Taking it for fact. Maybe you do your own research and kind of look around. Maybe next time you go to the grocery store, take the receipt with you, and take a picture of it. And then 6 months, go back to the grocery store, buy the same items, and see if it's increased by 1% or 2%, or if it's increased by 10 or 15%. Do your numbers. Do your numbers. Economy is changing. Lending is changing. And we all need to be prepared for it. But I think a lot of people are going to make a lot of money with it. I'm not saying this to scare anyone or concern anyone, but what I do want is I want people to make smart, forward-thinking decisions based on what's really happening versus some hopium that they're trying to feed everyone. What do you think about it? And also, to even solidify this even further, oil prices are going to continue to rise. So it's going to be unique and interesting because oil prices, they say, jumped nearly 6%, and they're closing down all of these different offshore oil and gas leases. So you have to ask yourself, if they're going to make the cost of energy more expensive, everything that we buy is either shipped on a truck, that's on a train, that's on a plane. If everything's going to cost more to get from point A to point B, it's going to be pushed onto us as the consumer. So if that is all going to get more expensive, and they're going to say that the economy is booming and we need to keep interest rates higher for longer, the consumer's getting hit both ways, right? So we're walking into a really, really, really big structural change to America. People need to get ready for it. A lot of people make a lot of money. A lot of people are going to ignore it, and they're going to say it's not going to happen. But look, facts are facts. Everything else is emotion. Everything else is feelings. Feelings change day by day. Facts don't. Drop below, hit the like button, and if you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, put yourself in the best position possible to get funding while you can. Things are going to get much, much harder probably the next 18 months, so put yourself in a really good position. Grow now to put yourself in that moat of safety. We'd love to help you at GreatCreditFast.com. Catch you in the next video.